Going on. Beautiful people. Beautiful people. What's going on? Share to phenomenal financial freedom. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Of course, while you wait, I just want to show you, just to remind you, my book is on Amazon. Phenomenal STEMist: How to Become a Successful Student from STEM Student from the Womb to University. Hope you guys are doing well this winning Wednesday evening. Don't forget to go to www.phenomenalstemist.com where you can find all of my products. Products. We're talking about being a producer or a consumer. And I wanted to really talk about the article that I put on Phenomenal Financial Freedom, discussing the differences between a producer and a consumer. I think one of the major problems in my community is that, you know, we're more consumers than producers. You know, when you think of anything that is created, like I even think about this pandemic and how StreamYard and Restream was created while everybody was panicking, while everybody was complaining about the pandemic in late 2019 and 2020. I mean, yo, 2 20-year-olds created StreamYard and they're making billions off of people using the product. We're using StreamYard, we're using Restream. Like I just long for the day that my people start to produce things that can be consumed, and then we don't sell it out once we do so. So let's just get into dialogue in terms of what is a producer versus a consumer. I got this from economicsdiscussion.net. Producers and the types of producers. All right. So a producer is basically a group of persons who produce goods and services. That's it. A group of people who produce goods, services for use. Consumers are people who use those goods and services. That's as simple. It's as simple as that. Do you produce or do you consume? What have you created for someone to use? All right. So there, we're talking about the different types of producers. I'm not going to even go into the details of the consumer. A consumer is us. We just go and buy products. We buy and we buy depreciable items that we consume things that depreciate in value. We don't even consume things that go up in value. Most of the stuff that we consume are degraded, destroyed, or depreciate over time. I want us to be producers. So I'm going to look at this article and discuss this article, um, describing what a producer is. And so there are different types of producers. Did you know that? There are different types of producers. Number one, the first type of producer is a agricultural producer, right? What are they doing? They're producing crops, agriculture, vegetables, fruits. Like, do you produce food? Do you produce, you have land to grow corn and vegetables and tobacco, or whatever. You have land, you learned how to cultivate that land, and you create and you created that. You produce resources that people use, whether it even be like corn. Oil companies use corn more so than people who eat corn. Like, do you have land to produce? Do you have animals on your land? First one, agricultural producers, foundational. Number two, industrial producers. What are industrial producers? Are those that produce something related to industry, manufacturing, things, machines, things that can be used, you know, to produce, to build large scale industries. Think about the technology industry. They're creating chips for the tech. Like what what are we training I guess, with the Roblox. I just know so many parents whose kids are addicted to Roblox. But how many of them are training their kids to be creators of the next Roblox? Like, my frustration is that we produce consumers. We produce people that buy, and we produce things like for popularity's sake. We're so into getting the net. I just think about when I grew up. It was all about the latest sneakers and the latest clothes. Like, none of us were thinking about producing anything. We were just, wanted to compare ourselves with each other and make sure that we were rocking the triple fat gooses and rocking the latest Jordans and Levi's jeans. Did you have the Levi's jeans? And you had to make sure it was Levi's with the little V on the pocket. We were so obsessed with consumption. And I feel like we're just passing that behavior on to our children. So that just like we were obsessed with clothes, our children are obsessed with Roblox. Meanwhile, somebody that they're looking for people to create a metaverse for in Roblox, and they're paying these people $438,000 a year to assist in the production of these things. That's heavy software engineering. That's software engineering. Like, I can't get you to do 1+1 = 2 as your kid, much less coding and stuff like that. And the mathematics that entail, the mathematics that are required for that. $438,000 they're paying people to create, to work for Roblox. But we got our kids playing Roblox. All right, next one. Number three, service producers. So in order to produce agriculture and industrial goods, you need transportation, you need communication, you need banking, you need institutions like insurance services. You need to be able to play stores. Like, so there are producers that produce the service industries that serve the other primary and secondary producers, whether it be agriculture or industrial. Trucks, logistics, like I just feel like we're we're entertaining ourselves and not educating ourselves. Or we're educating ourselves with no goal in mind, with the goal to be a better consumer. I feel like we're educating ourselves to be a better consumer. Uh, versus educating ourselves to think of ideas of things that we can produce. Struck things that like somebody thought of this and produced it, you know? So why is it important? So lastly, I just gave you the types of producers. There's primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is the food, the agriculture. Secondary is the industry, the structure, the components that built that are built by industries. Number three, the service producers, where you have services that help the other two industries. You produce things to assist. Like you need trucks, you need communication devices, you need institutions of finance for finances. Like you create institutions or things that assist with the other producers, but you don't just use the producer's products. Why is it important to understand the significance of being a producer? Number one, number one, you have to supply different goods and services. The supply comes from the producer. The things you need comes from the producer. If you increase supply, you have all other services to increase. Number two, producers, the very important role of producers are the entrepreneurs. Producers are entrepreneurs. They're literally coordinators of the product. If you remember back when I was talking about economics, land, labor, capital, technology, remember those five major tenets of economics? It's the entrepreneur that utilizes these resources to provide products. They plan with the land. They make plans for labor. They make plans for how they would get capital. Entrepreneurs, producers have to be entrepreneurs. Number three, feel free to see a couple people watching. Feel free to chat what you're thinking. Um, Producers are the people who take the initiative to use resources. So they know, a lot of people just get up and watch TV, go to work, eat, consume. But who's in charge of like helping us get across to the country? A lot of us like to travel. It took a person to produce an airplane to make it easiest for us to get all the way to Jamaica. Before, when we had to go on ships, and it took a genius to create a ship. When I think about remote learning and how right now we're doing so many things online remotely via Zoom, it took somebody to create the Zoom. Everything that's easy for me. My car, the highway that I take to get to work, it only takes me 10 minutes versus the long way is like 30, 20 something minutes. But somebody created asphalt. Somebody took the time to learn about asphalt. Somebody took the time to learn physics to create highways in a physical way, like the curves that we, that we that we can't speed on. We have to do 70 miles an hour or less because of the way the physics of the it took it took somebody studying physics to create highways and the bridges. And I hope people want to learn again. I wonder if people want to learn. Talk to me, those of you who are watching. Is it that people just don't want to? It takes a lot of information to create products and optimally use those products. It takes an understanding of the soil. Number four, producers are expert at promoting, right? The producers of export goods and services help to reduce the balance and payment deficit of a country by promoting more experts. These producers mainly produce goods and services for export. And then you can exchange with meaning export promotion. Like after you create it, you got to be able to send it to other countries. But you have to be able to underutilize the service industries of transportation and utilize, government for in terms of laws It takes a lot of work to produce. And I'm wondering if the reason why there are not that many producers is because it's a lot of learning and a lot of work. Consuming is just easier to do. Next one, it increases employment and income. When you produce, they're the ones that are the job owners. They're the ones that give people jobs. Producers give people jobs. Consumers don't give people jobs. You make more money for yourself when you produce, even if you have a job. If you create a product, you can sell that product and increase your income. One of the major ways to increase your income is through production of something. It is not through raises, getting raises at work. Because if you get raises at work, you're gonna have to work longer. Who wants to work longer? Wouldn't it be awesome to make double your salary, but still work the same amount of time you work, 40 hours or 30 hours a week, but double your how do you do that? You produce something. You produce something. Producers create a demand for something. As I said before, I'm thinking about how technology has boomed in the past couple of years. You have these churches online using StreamYard. Somebody produced StreamYard, and you have all these churches consuming it. You have all these churches watching online, all these people watching online. You because somebody decided to produce something and it created a demand. Let me see what people have to say. Hey, hey, hey. How are you? Caroline Denise says, so much information is available to us via the World Wide Web. Yep, the internet. That people are getting lazy to go out of their way to learn. But they're learning through the internet. They're just not applying all this information. So I think they're too lazy to get tested. They're too lazy to get tested on the application of the information that they're gaining. People are all, yeah, you're right. They're all over the internet learning things. But it's one thing to learn something, is another thing to apply what you learned. And nobody wants to be tested on the application of what they learned. And that's a problem. Mhm. All right, almost done. I think that's it. So, guys, I have a burden on my heart that I feel like it's time that we at least stop consuming, as much as we do. 'Cause that's the cause of our debt. I think that's the cause of our debt, you know? I think we consume too much. Um, but as I said before, I don't think our community raises children to produce. I think we're raising children to consume, and we're raising children to compete with other children based on consumption and not production. Yeah, I think, like, what has your kid I don't know. It can't, like, student loan debt is just, and then we take out all these student loans, and then we want it forgiven by the government, and that's it. Like, what is the community doing to teach the next generation, how to make products, something that is useful? And I'm not just talking about depreciable products too, but like products that will enhance the livelihood of people. Because sometimes we make clothes and stuff like that, and t-shirts. We have a lot of, like, a lot of kids, they do designer shoes and designer stuff. And these are great businesses, but like what is your skill set and how do you plan on using your skill set to create a product that will benefit society? Like somebody said, I want a computer. I want a computer in everybody's hand, in everybody's pocket. Or like when Steve Jobs saw his daughter used to wear, I mean, this is the myth. I don't know if it's real or not. But his daughter used to be like me. His daughter is a generation extra like me, and we loved our Walkmans. Hey, Sophia, to see you. We loved Walkmans. I could relate. I used to wear Walkmans everywhere. I used to have headphones like this, and I used to just listen to my CD player. It used to be my Walkman, my tape player, and then it transitioned from tape player to CD player. But those things were really like bulky. Remember the CD player? I don't even know. I don't even have it with me. The CD player used to be this big. You used to have to She used to wear it in a one of those, what do you call those things where those bags, knapsacks or whatever. And literally Steve Jobs was so annoyed with seeing that. He got so annoyed of seeing that. He said, "I'm gonna put your music that can fit in your pocket. Music that can fit in your pocket." And the myth is, after seeing the bulky CD player, you know what I'm saying, that we used to all wear around, he made the iPod. He created the iPod. He saw something, and he created a product. Yeah, me too. I used to love my CD player. But as soon as the iPod came out, everybody dished the iPod. I mean, the CD player for the iPod, because you can have as much songs as you want. You download your CD player music on something that can go in something this small, and then you just put it in your pocket, and nobody saw it. You see, like, he saw something, saw a problem, and he made a product to counteract that issue. Yeah, add value for the benefit of the community. Add value with MP basically MP3 players, yeah, MP3 players and iPods, same thing. Like, who in our communities are thinking like this to make MP3 players? And but you got to understand electronics, you have to understand, you got to understand math, you got to like, it takes. And I'm not even saying, or it takes ingenuity to um to envision vision to bring labor together, right? So labor is a resource. So you as an entrepreneur can galvanize labor. So because Steve Jobs didn't, I don't think he had a engineering degree, if I don't remember, but he partnered with a main his Apple guy that was main engineering. So you have to learn how to be an entrepreneur that brings producers together. Yeah, the best businesses are the ones that solve problems, that create products that solve problems. But the creation of product requires knowledge to create. You got to be able, that's the hard part. It's one thing to mention what the problem is, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's another thing to create a product that solves the problem. Let's think of other products, lights. You see this lighting right here behind me? Somebody created the light bulb. Shout out to the black man who created the filament to keep the light bulb burning longer. You know, he worked with Thomas Edison. Edison got the credit. But nonetheless, Edison was one of the major producers in his time. Before Edison, people were traveling around with these burning lanterns, and It's like we gotta be able to see beyond what we have. Like, people were satisfied with the kerosene lanterns. There are people all over the world that are still satisfied with the kerosene lanterns. But then there are people that are like, "You know what? I don't feel like carrying around kerosene lanterns, risking blowing up my house. Let's try to create a ever-burning light, a ever-burning light." So the light and because of that, you know, somebody created the mic and the wires in within, and somebody created this computer that I'm working on. You have to partner. You don't have to know everything, but you have to need but you do need the right people. Engineering is key to most product development. Listen, you need engineers. And here's the thing, Sophia, in this racist world, many people aren't going to partner with you because of racism. So we need to make our own engineers and galvanize with each other. Science, technology, engineering. Science, technology, engineering, math. Like a lot of the products that are necessary require STEM. Requires STEM. And it requires people who are visionary to work with STEM. But here's the thing, we have too many visionaries, no STEM. We got too many talkers, too many too many coaches. That's the only thing we producing now. Like, I feel like even that, I feel like all our businesses, all our entrepreneurs. Let's do a survey. The latest black in entrepreneurs. What are their business? Consultant, coaching, consultant, because because products that require engineering, like you said, it requires engineering. And they ain't working with us. So that means we're gonna have to make more of us that are engineers so that we, the visionary people, can work with us who are engineers. Too many of us are scared of math and science and engineering. Too many of us. And so we are pigeonholing ourselves into service industries with no major products. And I'm not knocking, next level coaching and all that, all these coaching businesses that are coming out, life coaching businesses and this coaching businesses. And I ain't knocking it, but doggone it, I feel like we are so one dimensional. And the reason why is because we are not training our kids in a versatile way. We don't put our kids in STEM camps. There goes my, I ain't shameless plug. And truthfully, when I did this video, it wasn't my intention wasn't even to go this route. But the reality is we're not when you go to colleges, you do not see people that look like us in the classrooms of the higher level maths, engineering classes. It's not there. Why? Because we're not training them from young. Not training them from young, and so they're fearful of math and science. But math and like just to remind you of the different, just those of you who came in a little later, there are three major producers: agriculture, industry, and service. Agriculture is biology, is understanding the biology of soil and land ownership. Industry is creating those machines. Industry is creating those machines. It requires engineering, math. Service is where you could do the communication and the banking and the insurance, storage services. That's where you could do that's where, you can do those that don't involve STEM. But you see what she did? We don't know how to do it, so we don't push our kids that direction. Brandon and I will be sending any little ones we have your direction. My awesome, awesome. It's like I when I saw the Roblox, $438,000, and I know we're not training our kids to get those type of jobs. We're training our kids to use Roblox. We're giving our kids the opportunity to play with Roblox. And we're happy, like, they're in the in crowd because they get the latest devices to consume these things. We're not training kids to be creators of these things. And and I hope that ends soon. It's time for us to be producers. Stop being consumers. All right, y'all. 30 minutes in. It's been a great conversation. Be a producer, not a consumer. Create a product. Create a product that that's missing for someone to use. You guys have a great night. Do I offer STEM for adults? No. I offer STEM for K through 12. Um, you know, adults, I have a free GED program, or prep. I provided a lot of resources to prepare for a GED, because I feel like that's one of the major causes of it. That is, not having a high school diploma is the major problem in our community. The major cause. I remember doing ministry at a Section 8 housing area, and I talked to multiples of the women who were living in that area with multiple children and in poverty, and they couldn't find a job. Most of them didn't have a high school diploma. Like, you can make enough money to support yourself with a high school diploma. Yes, people with bachelor's degrees and master's degrees may make more depending on the job, but the major cause of poverty in our community is the lack of a high school diploma. And so my passion for adults is more so preparing them to get a GED. Somebody get a GED, it will maximize their earnings. They will make drastic difference amount of earnings as compared to, let's say, bachelor's to GED. Yep. So that's STEM for adults. They got to go to college. They got to take me in college. Like I'll guide them to college. Adult. But I don't do STEM camps and stuff like that for adults. I just don't see. I haven't seen the. I don't think adults want it. Yeah. 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 You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many people do not have a high school diploma. And when I looked for free GED prep programs, there are none, right? There are free, if you go to Khan Academy, there are free SATs, there are free MCAT. They have MCAT on Khan Academy. And all the free, tutoring programs don't have a GED component. Because they make money off of that. These for-profit institutions say, "Oh, come get your GED." Da, 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 da. You have to pay. And then so when I looked at the GED, I literally looked at the GED because I never paid attention to that. Um, I it has it's language arts, math, science, and I think English, and it's no social studies, English language. So it's math, science, English/language arts, and social studies. Each of them have their own test, and it's basically 4 years. It's like taking high school and condensing it into 4 exams. Do you know how hard that is? The GED is really difficult. And so I basically compiled a whole bunch of videos, a whole bunch of practice tests, a whole bunch of learning components that were free online. I compiled them, I put them in a package where students can just go through the information and prepare themselves for free so that they can, I put all the free resources in one big place. GED is hard. And the fact that there's no free programs that assist the poor, that makes sense, right? They got free programs for people with bachelor's degree from medical school. They got free LSAT programs, but they don't got free GED programs. There have to be some nonprofit organization that offer GED. Couldn't find any, not online. You have these churches that back in the days when my mother was on education secretary, she used to put together a GED program, and you have probably, but how many church? Let me not get into that. Let me not get into that. I, I just, like, no, they're not many nonprofit organizations. Most GED programs are for a cost. And I didn't find any online. Like everything online that was here for GED prep, that you had to pay for it. Yep. I mean, that's where the poor stay poor. They want poor. They want poor, right? And if you don't have a high school diploma, you're gonna be poor. Period. If you don't have a high school diploma, you'll be poor. If you have a high school diploma, you're not necessarily poor. But if you don't have one, you're poor. That's why I feel that that's the most important thing that I wanted to create for adults. Because you'd be surprised how many Black people 20, 30, 40 years old, who did not graduate from high school and then did not pass the GED. And now it's worse. In Florida, they have these things called, because if they don't pass the certain exams or get certain points on their SAT, they get certification of completion. And certification of completion is not a high school diploma. But they're passing people through so they don't get this, this bad rap with certifications of completion, meaning you took all your classes and you got grades in all your classes, but these teachers are just passing people without really, really, preparing them. But they don't do well on the SAT enough because they had to get a certain score on the SAT now, at least in Florida, to get the high school diploma. And if they pass their classes but they don't make that score, they're not high school. They don't have a high school diploma. They'll get a certificate of completion. That ain't going nowhere. That is not a high school diploma. I wonder how many people know that. And so in order to get the job, they have to get a GED. And do you know, like, that's why I tell people in high school, don't waste high school. I'm grateful to God for my high school diploma. Number one certificate. I say it all the time. The most important certificate of education for me was my high school diploma. Not my bachelor's degree from Oakwood, not my master's degree and PhD from Albert Einstein College of Medicine. My most important certificate of education was my high school diploma. It's what kept me out of poverty. Everything else just added to extra money. You can't do nothing with a certification of completion. Tell folk that. I see how this just transitioned from producer to consumer to talking about I don't know. But it needs to be spoken about. Hey Don. Hey Don, how you doing? Live from New York. And so that's what I'm saying. We have these kids out here just wearing Jordans, but not graduating with a high school diploma. Playing Roblox and and whatever video games, but not, really learning something to the point where they can become a producer and not a consumer. They're just educated consumers. Make something, y'all. Nah, it's good. I'm glad. It's educational. It's for people to understand, like, if your kid doesn't make a certain score on the tests that they use in high school, they're not graduating from high school. They're getting a certificate of completion. Either they need to get a certain score on the SAT, or they need to get a certain score on whatever tests they use. And my goal is to, okay, let me create a product. I'm creating products of education. That's my skill set. That's my skill set. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. So I created a book. I created STEM camps, and I've created, you know, prep courses that are free. In this case, I didn't create the test, so whatever I give is free. Is Whatever I give as free is basically things that I didn't create myself. So, for instance, the GED prep program, most people don't know where the free resources is. My talent is I know how to find educational resources that are free, that are on PDF files. So what did I do? I just found them. Like, I saved them, and then I created my own Google Classroom, and I uploaded them onto and I organized them. That's my product, even though the information is not my product. I literally created a pathway to success to prepare for the GED. And I give that for free because most of the resources on there are for free. Why would I charge? Why would I charge something that people have been given for free? It's just that you don't know how to get to these places. You don't know how to search for these things. So I have basically searched for them. I took the time to search for all of them, and I just placed them in one big place just for you to go get it. Now my STEM camps are a little different. My STEM camps, I created the things, you know, for the most part. Or there's videos that you could watch. I organize that, and you pay for the experience of me creating products to prepare your kid in STEM, or write a book. You know what I'm saying? Products, something that people can have in their hand. People could use. Is this in Florida or nationwide? I'm talking about Florida. This is what Florida has done. Schools in Florida has created this thing called certificate of completion. So basically, so they don't get in trouble for failing students out. So they basically pass the students. They pass the classes. Like, let's say you have to take 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 3 years of science. The students don't do well in any of these schools necessarily, but the teachers just pass them through. But they don't. It doesn't really translate on standardized tests. And so, in order to pass them through but not make them college ready, what they do is they say, okay, we'll pass you through so that we don't get in trouble for keeping students back, or we don't have to deal with you anymore by keeping you back. And then, but we won't pass you to college though, because you're not college ready. Even though you finished high school, you're not college ready. Because too many people were passing through, and then when they get to college, they weren't college ready. So basically, say, okay, we'll pass you through high school, give you a certificate of completion, so you got through high school, but you can't go into college with that certificate of completion, and you can't get no job with that certificate of completion. So you will have to then go and do a GED when you could have really just buckle down in high school and pass that and do well on the SAT. It's probably not even do well, just get like a 425 or something like that. That's all you gotta get. Yeah. They call me that. That's she's my favorite. I did a top 5. Harriet Tubman is my favorite Black woman of all time. Sister Tubman. So it's an honor for you to call me that. Listen, trying to set folk free, man. And I want to create products. And I want parents to create children that want to. I'm too old to create products. I'm too old to be an engineer. I'm not going back to school for engineering to create products. I'm not like so. Literally, we need children. We need children to be product building with a product building mindset. And I feel like we're creating children with an entertaining mindset. Music, sports, entertainment. We're not creating STEMists. So let's start creating more STEMists so that we can create more producers. Please, let's do that. Root cause to not being a producer, lack of a high school diploma. I think the root cause of poverty is lack of a high school diploma. I think the root cause of not being a producer is the lack of entrepreneurship mindset, like a consuming mindset from childhood. We like think about when we were kids. I was saying this earlier. We cared about getting the latest. We did not care about producing anything. I didn't. I can't think of any of my people that did. We cared about music and sports and consuming cool looks. But literally, like creating wire, like production requires engineering. It requires most products are engineered. Period. Other than the service industry, so 70% of the products out there are engineered. It's not. It's not. It's not music, and it's not clothes, and it's not sports, and I think that's our focus. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully people will start freeing their kids' minds. So I'm too old. You see these gray hairs? Gray hairs? Too old for that. Too old for that. Goal setting is not a part of their dynamics. Yeah. I don't know, ma. Hopefully it changes. Guys, it's been an hour. We've been talking for an hour. We've been talking a long time, so I'm ready to go now. I'd like to do it before 7 where most people their churches are opening up for prayer meeting. It's been great talking to you guys. Let's see what you say. Maybe barriers to becoming a producer is a high school diploma. If you don't have that, you can't go to college to begin it. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe you're right. That is true. But my question is what it's like the kids are distracted in high school, you know? Kids are distracted in high school. And it's not just kids' fault, teachers have issues too. Parents don't hold their children accountable to, it's like a combination of all these things. And maybe we're not making these classes in high school relevant to the point where they lay to the production. Maybe high schools are focused so much on just taking tests that we don't even expand our mind to even think like, what would you produce? What is a problem in society? Like when I was in high school, I don't think people were talking about that. They were just teaching us about Shakespeare, and so I don't know. It's a multiple fold problem. But some these maybe not us, but these kids that are producing all these things, they're getting it from somewhere. Where are they getting it from? The kids that created StreamYard, where do they get it from? Yeah. Yeah, we're consumer minded. So it's time for us to be producer minded. And not we're just so we got to stop being so one dimensional. Like it's most of our businesses are in one dimensional. We need to open our minds. Let's open our minds to things. Yeah. All right. You guys have a great night. It was awesome time talking to you guys. See you next week.